This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is your live market review for Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. Hopefully you're doing well. Again, a great week going on so far. Hopefully people are watching the videos because we're painting the picture, Bob Ross in this thing pretty well. You know, this is not the first rodeo, doing this 20 years, seeing what seems like 1,000 option expiration weeks. And yeah, it's not always easy. It's not always going to be what you think it's going to be. Just trying to mentally prepare people for chop, slop, and look for the extremes. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. You'll get the notification bells. We do a lot of reviews, tons of video content. You guys know the drill. So I appreciate it, everybody who's involved. Just let me get a quick mic check, and then I'll roll right into it. If you're on the Discord or in the Discord room and you want to post questions, drop them in the beginner room. I will try to answer them on the video. And on that note, kind of just drop this pretty quickly. I was figuring this is, I feel like the day is basically done, potentially, in the sense that, I could see the market chopping around. Does it drop? You probably need more news. At this point, mic is checked. Good. There's not really much to say. And I know people want to get excited about trading. And I tell people this all the time. If you get excited about trading for the pure effect of, emotional stimulation, you're doing this wrong. You're just doing it wrong. Because that's not the purpose of trading. It's a non-emotional decision-making, repeating pattern money tree. That's the goal, right? And if that's the goal, it's not gambling. Does this make sense? So if you sit here and you think, hey, I gotta print money endlessly and aggressively and be on top of it, always doing as much as you possibly can, you're playing with fire. You're just absolutely playing with fire, because you're gonna find yourself at some point over trading, overextended, stuck in what I would consider like this repeating feedback loop of up, down, emotional roller coaster. And when people get caught in that, they don't even see it. You cannot see it. Because again, you don't have the vision to see yourself for who you are. You can only take feedback from people who can see from the outside. And I can tell you this because I've had the same thing, is you get in this loop of winning, losing, up, down, happy, frustrated, excited, end of the world. And then you ultimately are going to blow up because you get addicted to the actual emotions of it. And that's where I think people who know me and know this, like, it just is what it is. And you got to trade very logically, non-emotional, based on repeating patterns, seasonality, repeating like tendencies within the market. Because again, OPEX, patterns might be certain like traps, gaps, action, but there's just a lot of things that I think a lot of people, again, they focus on the future and watching the now versus studying the past. And the people who study the past, I can tell you without a doubt, grow 10 times quicker than the people who are always trying to watch the now and predict it. Because the best way to get good at predicting the future is actually studying the past. But nobody does that. It's just a fact. That's just how it is. So open this up. Got any questions? Holler at me. If not, again, I'll just go on some rants and go through some things that I'm looking at personally. Because again, I tell people this all the time. Have a journal, have your notes, and focus on what is. Not all of this stuff that kind of flutters out there is like, quick, the CPI, for example. We know it's going to be high. What's the difference between 6.2 and 6.5%? At this point, 6% plus is still way too high. The Fed's eased conditions, which I think they didn't want to do. And guess what? Inflation entrenched, food inflation, all the things the worst things are up. Food, rent, housing, not good. So ultimately, you got to be very aware that, hold on, sorry. You just got to be aware of it. Sorry. I'm just trying to get people to just think about this. The mindset of just, all right, well, the CPI 6%, good, bad. again, it's bad. Let it go. Now what's the next thing, right? The next data, the next earnings, potentially Russia. Does it really matter? I don't think so. You got to know the seasonality. You just have to know the seasonality. And when you go into the mid to end of February, it's not bullish. There's always what I call a spring swoon drop. It just always works like that. So on that note, let's just get into it because I'm not really getting a ton of questions at this point. But again, I'm not surprised. Drop this really quickly because I was just like, you know what? People need to probably see what's going on. Let's start it with Taiwan Semiconductor. Here's an example of trying to get rich off the last effing eighth of a trade. I know people, and again, not people in the Discord room. I talk to a lot of people. I'm a friendly guy. People know I'm involved in trading. I don't really tell them how I'm doing or what I'm doing, but I tell them I know a little bit about stocks. Always do that. And if they want to have, they talk about it, you know, I love listening to them because again, I get a lot of information from talking to retail traders, like a lot. And not even necessarily retail traders, just the average person. And when I say average person, the person I play basketball with, person I see at the gym, neighbors, people you see at your local coffee shops that you talk to, whatever, friends that just don't understand trading. And one of the things that they're all pushing right now, and they all believe, semiconductors are going to the moon. NVIDIA is their favorite. Taiwan Semi, their second. And their third, if I remember right, was Intel. But that one, again, I laugh at Intel because they were also pushing, the same folks were talking about Intel in the 40s and 50s. That didn't work out too well. So today's action in Taiwan Semi is very expensive for the folks who didn't take profits. And this is why I always warn people, I'd rather be early than late. Because this kind of crap happens 1 out of 3 times, potentially in some of your swing trades. Remember we talk about professional gaps start the move? This is the start of the move. Now, it drops obviously $8. Does it have to just smash through? Not necessarily. It's kind of like Caterpillar. It could play this game. And I was watching the 20-day, and I was going to put an alert on. By the time it happened, it was so quick. You got to be careful. You got to be careful trying to get that last eighth, trying to make a little more money. Because I know these folks are going to sit here now and go, well, damn, I'm just going to wait. We'll see what happens. And you know how this plays out. And as Jay Souza said, there's some gaps here. Will they get filled? Probably. But these people will ride it all the way back down. And then they'll say, well, whatever. You know what? I'll hold it for the long run. And then, who knows? Does it end up being some sort of head and shoulders top? Or does it just end up going back down? Me personally, Buffett's dumping it. As you saw, that was probably the big news. Why? Not working out, right? So, at this point, if you shorted this, congratulations. I would watch for the 20-day. And I would watch what happens when it gets into this 89 to 90 area. Because I know you got those wicks that are right there, but I'd probably draw it a little even lower. You can see what I'm talking about, this box here. It's been multiple support resistance within trends. So, I hope that helps. At this point, congratulations. High five to you. Let's talk about my other favorite. Or not, let's go. No, I'm not going to go in order. I want to talk about gold. People are like, you're not short gold. Well, no, I've got dust. Not complaining. Over 14. If you bought it in the 10, 11 range, 30%. Not too shabby. What now? Russia stuff, this is the big problem with me shorting gold. Now, miners, I don't care about. I get trolled really hard by gold bugs and gold miner bugs, whatever you want to call them. I'd call them cockroaches, actually, because they don't, they disappear. They're gold bugs, they're always kind of bullish. Gold miners, bulls, they're like cockroaches. They're just screaming and they're real obnoxious, and then you want to stomp them out and then they disappear when you're right. I would look at gold and say, well, going into next week with Russia stuff, if you got profits, because we talked about somewhere in here, just raise your stops. And if you are fully positioned, I would say it's probably better to take some off, because if something changes, you don't want to give that back. Now, the miners, on the other hand, doo-doo. this looks fine. We're at the trend line. I personally think it's going to smash at some point, but don't be surprised if it doesn't happen today. And if it does, even better. Even better. Again, this is the thing about when the market dumps, and we're expecting a market dump, miners are not safe. Okay? Remember, miners typically what? I'm seeing gold. Typically, starting, it can be February, it can be March, but going into the second quarter are always crap. Is it just this action and then going higher? I severely doubt it. But it all hinges on what? Geopolitical stuff. I personally think miners, gold, all that stuff's going to get slapped in the face. Let's talk about the apple, the fruit. Put that short on today. Again, interrupt me if you have any questions. I'm free to, I'm just kind of like rambling about things that I think are important. Said watch the one, well, here, I'll show you guys on the 60-minute one I'm watching. Just watching this blue box. Any pop. I mean, I was like, anything over 154, I'll take it. All right, does it rally back? I don't know. I don't know. Near term, not super concerned. Again, if you're shorting this, there's a clear ceiling here. Now, can it break over it during OPEX? I mean, possibly. It just tends to wick. Do you trust it? No. I mean, again, it could get up higher. I have no doubt in that. But this is the thing. Like, taking some layers into the short today makes sense to me. Now, if you wanted to go all in, well, then you need to tighten up your stops, and you need to define your risk. If you wanted to add your one put, 100 shares, whatever your one unit approximation of like layering into trades based on how you design your trading philosophies, it makes sense. It makes sense. I did two trades on it, 2 shorts into it, added, but I've already had some from previously. And so again, trading around positions, ChopX. Do you expect the market to dump, Dan? I've said this 1,000 times. At some point, yes. During OPEX, I don't necessarily believe it has to be. It doesn't have to be. So on that note, if you're familiar with OPEX, ChopX, again, they're going to try to take puts and calls and just destroy everybody who's over trading. Then you're just sitting here calm as a cucumber like, all right, it's just a matter of when, not if. And if doesn't come, what is your risk profile? Have you defined it? If you're not defining your risk when you're trading, that's gambling. Okay? It's really that simple, y'all. So, looking at Apple, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Let's go into, things that I think are interesting. The dollar. Making higher highs here. Now I know it's another gap up, but look what we're doing. We're getting, this trend is now up. But we're into a next like chop zone. How long? I don't know. But we talked about, here's your trap, your gaps to confirm it, holding the 20-day, now gapping up. The dollar is going to be rising. TLT, the bond market, what are we talking about? Market doesn't like rates going higher, TLT lower. Personally, it's kind of one of those things where what? As long as volatility in the bond market doesn't go crazy, the overall market probably can be like a controlled burn or a little chop. At some point, either rates are going much higher, in my opinion, which I thought they were going to go lower because I thought they would be smart enough to remove liquidity and tighten it up. And that would actually have brought people to buy bonds. But instead, it just seems like the opposite's in effect now, right? Like people are starting to anticipate what? More sustained inflation. As I've tried to eloquently put it, like, I think it's going to sustain. People are like, why do you think it's going to sustain? Because, well, the rates aren't high enough. Like, the Feds have, never navigated a soft landing. I mean, they're literally like teenagers trying to drive a car for the first time, and they're trying to drive a Porsche 911 with a, 6-speed or 7-speed or 8-speed, whatever speed they are now these days, transmission manual. I mean, they're going to wreck the son of a bitch. I mean, it just is what it is. They do it every time. And so at this point, you look at it, you go, all right, well, let's see what happens here. Because if it looks like it breaks this 103 area, let me tighten up this trend line. Apologize, it's not as fresh as we'd like it. I mean, let me just curious if you tighten it like this. Yeah, I mean, you could say you're breaking the trend. Let's do it this way. Oh, sorry. You know how I like to do boxes as well? Just make that like the center line, and let's just, man, it's real dicey here. So TLT, we'll see. I know the market ain't gonna like it. SPY, everyone's talking about 409, 408 breaking. Again, ChopX doing ChopX things. Are we consolidating high and tight to go higher? As a bull, you could argue that. And so, in my opinion, the action is chop. We know it's chop. Again, this is actually a bull day on the Stock Traders Almanac. I would think today is the last day you really reel the bulls in. I personally think that, could you get up to the 420? I feel like this is as we talked about in previous recaps, the double tap trap, right? The double tap trap. Double tap trap. Trap, double tap, right? You get double taps. Here you go. Trap, double tap. Double tap, trap. So it seems to be the reoccurring theme here, and no one else talks about this pattern, but it just seems to be the case. Like, here is your high, here is your novice gap trap, and now the action's just taking longer to flop over. I love to say that I can tell you it's going to happen today at 3:30 p.m. Get your seatbelt, get in your seats, put on your seatbelt, grab some popcorn. I mean, whatever analogy you want to say, and that'll happen. But I just don't know that. And again, I don't really. And this is the thing: if you're newer to trading, you've been trading your whole life. I guarantee you this one thing. And again, if you get this anything out of it, if you can learn in your trading to get the best positions, ideally positions for what your trade is, and take the time variable out of trading. When that whole analogy when Livermore says the best thing he ever did, in his trading was sitting on his hands, he didn't really explain what that really meant. And sitting on his hands means, again, in my opinion, from my experience, how do you take time variables out of trading? Well, again, you got to be patient. Like the big moves, I wish I could tell you guys. I wish you could know. I wish you could tell me when it starts. Because there's a lot of smart people who sound really stupid to me. They sound really stupid because they're like, oh, it's going to start today, Tuesday, CPI, this. I don't know that. So, why do you want to look at the Bitcoin 15 minutes? I don't mind checking that out at all. What's your thoughts? Again, when someone asks me a question about looking at a chart, tell me what you want to see or what you're looking for, kind of thing. Are you anticipating up, down, sideways? You curious of the next direction, I'm assuming? But here's the thing. Whenever you're asking yourself what's going on in a trade, you got to zoom out first. Tunnel vision is by far the biggest cause of trader fatigue, trader misunderstanding of what's going on. And then what? Traders just missing out what the biggest move is. I mean, I look at the daily here. I mean, you've got resistance here. I said this in the recap yesterday. This pop, I'd watch this like mid 22,000s. I mean, I can pull up the 15 and see if I see anything. I mean, you got decent volume here. I would be on red alert. I'd watch this area around here, around the 22.8s. I mean, clearly you have some cause for the rise. I don't know. Again, I'm not too deep into crypto. I personally, I don't have any. Never really owned any, and I'd have no desire to. So at this point, it's kind of one of those things where, I mean, you can see this really easily here. I would watch. And this is the thing, and as we talk about traps, like look for wicks. And this is the thing, it's like shorting Apple. Like it pops and then it wicks, and it pops and it wicks. You have to bring people in. Remember, who's the exit liquidity, right? The chasers. So I would keep an eye on it. I mean, I think if you were looking to short it, just based on intraday stuff, the problem is this wick. I don't like this wick all the way up to 22.9. Because does that mean it could get up to 22.9? Potentially. I'd probably watch 22.832. That's what I'd look at. These wicks right here. Let me just open it up. I apologize. It's not as obvious. I'd be watching this area and right here. Because this could be a wick in itself too from this wick. Because this candle right here is pretty actually powerful. Because if correct, I'm assuming this is the open. It's got long legs on each side, if it can't close over it, it's going to get back inside it. And then once it gets back inside it, now you don't know. But you do know it's not bullish. And you would know what? It's bearish if it breaks below 22.6s. I hope that helps. Now, again, this is why I tell people, day trading, trying to anticipate every intraday move is incredibly difficult and incredibly taxing on your mental capacity. Because, again, trying to predict the next tick, minute, 10 minutes, 15, hour, there's way too many variables out there that are hard to control. News, you never know. News releases, right? What else is going on in the world? What else is affecting it? You got to be all over everything, watching it. And again, when people say, hey, you're day trading, yeah, you got to be watching the dollar. You got to be watching bond market. You got to be watching some of the, market indexes. You got to watch the big, especially if you're trading a particular name, you need to watch the names that are involved in the sector. It's just a lot of work. And so I'd rather, wait for the fastball down the middle to hit a home run versus trying to swing at every pitch, if that makes sense. I wish you luck if you are shorting. I think you've got clear references right here. But again, I think I'm trying to remember, is this trading view, is it delayed? I'm trying to remember. I don't think they're Bitcoin. Am I on a delayed feed? I don't know. I don't think I am, but hope that helps, Slacky. I think the obvious trade to me, here's my opinion, if I was going to short Bitcoin and feel like I had to do something, I would probably wait. I feel like you're potentially setting up left shoulder, right shoulder. And here's the thing you got to be very careful with. If you have a head and shoulders pattern, I know there's a lot of candle wicks just slightly above it. You might need to come into this trend up here at 23. So hope that helps. Any more questions, thoughts, concerns? Any thoughts, concerns, questions? My wife just texted me. Just real quick. She's out of town for a couple days. Any other questions? All right. I'm trying to short Ally, but I got to wait through the chop. Yeah. That's part of trading. Especially swing trading. I think people can't. It's amazing how people are able to wait on day trades intraday because they're like, oh, I'm looking at the 10-minute chart or I'm looking at the 5-minute or whatever short-term trade. They don't realize the daily is just the same thing. Ally Financial, trying to short Ally. I don't know why. Okay, here's my opinion on shorting Ally Financial. If you want to short financials, anything financial related, just short the FAAS. That's the easiest trade out there. Right? So here's the XLF. Coming into massive resistance. Massive resistance. Here it's chopping. If you want to short something, XLF, right? Look for it. Pull up the FAS. FAS, not FAZ, because FAZ is the long. I love shorting leverage ETFs. You can short Ally at 33, or what if you short this in 92 and it drops down into the mid-40s? I would even take down into the 60s. And you're not taking on stock-specific risk, and you're not trying to anticipate what one company is going to do. You're playing the whole, Credit Suisse last week, absolute dumpster fire. I look at Ally and I go, I don't know if I want stock-specific risk. I hope that helps. Hope that helps. That's just me being honest. Because, again, I think a lot of people who try to short individual names at certain times, you got to be careful. Remember, shorting is not a long-term investment. It's just a trade. It's always going to be a trade. So pick your names wisely. Yeah, I think it's just simpler that way. Because once you short the FAS, now you don't care about one bank-specific outcomes, and you just know the next Credit Suisse or the next European bank or the next Chinese bank or the next American bank that starts struggling, boom. I mean, I don't know if anyone saw this today, and I think someone posted it in the water or in the news and noise room. Goldman Sachs is going to stop offering credit cards. I wonder why. Not really. I mean, we know why. So, any other questions, thoughts, concerns? I appreciate again, this is where I think the best value is asking questions. And if you've been around the room and I make fun of you like you should have known that, it's just because I'm just teasing. And usually it's because I understand where you're at. There's a lot of things when you're learning to trade. And maybe the best analogy for this is for anyone here ex-military. I'm just curious if any ex-military guys. I know a few guys in the Discord room. But this analogy really hits home because you have to think of this as a war. Right? We're going to battle against the market makers, other traders, the algorithms, institutions, whatever. You just whatever. Name the party of interest on the other side. When the guns start firing, the battle begins. It's the people who are prepared mentally and confident are the ones that can execute. When you are new and you are scared and you're running on emotions and you don't have like this mindset of, all right, I know what to do if this happens. I know what to do. You are the one who will get picked off in the battle. And that's why I always have like a gun on my desk, and it reminds me, this is a battle. It's not life or death always, but you have to think of it as that, because if you are not taking the precautionary like mindset of what happens when I'm wrong, every mistake is a death. And again, this is why I love using military analogies. Like every dollar of your account is a soldier in the battle. And you're the general making the decisions. You cannot kill off your soldiers and expect to win the war. And when I say win the war, get to the point where you want to be rich or paying yourself running this like a business. You're not going to win the battle killing off your soldiers. So you have to protect your soldiers at all costs. Think of them as extensions of yourself. Treat and respect money above all else. It's the people who gamble. Well, again, you can gamble and win big. And again, this is the thing. You're going to find out in trading, like every once in a while, one of these trades that feels very safe and easy turns into a monster. Maybe it's going to be Netflix. Maybe it's going to be Meta. Maybe it's going to be First Solar Short. Speaking of that popping. Apple, when it dumps. Maybe it's going to be Caterpillar. Maybe it's going to be the Microsoft. Maybe, I mean, again, I'm leaning more towards tech and not so much commodities. But does this make sense? Because if you don't, once the bullets start flying, you are only as good as the knowledge that you are confident with. And that's why I understand why people ask questions a lot and they seem confused at times. And it's like, that's why you go and study the past. Think about every great military general or any military like campaign was built on knowing other successful campaigns and how wars worked, right? Like that's why I love watching all the stupid Netflix. Maybe not stupid. All the war stuff from Netflix. I was just watching, that stuff on the Ottoman Empire. I love that stuff. Watching stuff of the Romans. I mean, again, every society was defined by what they did militarily, especially in the past, but how they overcame and defeated their enemies, right? And so if you're in this mindset of you treat every dollar, right, as a soldier that you have responsibility for, you're going to think of it differently. But then you're also going to start to realize like how much you need to know and have to be careful. It's just again, the difference between gambling and not. So VIX is falling down with the market. Difficult to trade this one. No, it's not really that difficult. It's OPEX. That's what their goal is, to destroy the VIX. I always tell this to people. I'm like, watch the OPEX video we put out. Did this, one of my first videos. It's so obvious. VIX termination, CHOPEX. The goal is to do what? To chop out and frustrate day trading idiots. And I'd be an idiot if I'm day trading this too, because it gets to, like, you're hitting, you see positions, short arm targets. You see things bounce around, go up $1, down $1, down up $1. All this stuff. Again, it's building. Think of it as like the master general on the other side is wasting your mental capital. He's baiting you into running out into the battlefield and you'll get shot. Versus, all right, you wait for the extremes, you short or buy whatever you need to do, and then you go at the best opportunities versus always trying to trade every single spot. That's the danger in trading, because again, you don't know until you bet it. It's like Livermore said, you don't know until you bet it. People try to, oh, I'm going to be right about this. No, I always try to, this is the thing. Change your mind, flip your mind, and go, every time you make a decision, be hypercritical. Is this the best spot? And what happens if I'm wrong? Not, oh, I'm going to get in a trade and I'm always going to win. Because that's what people get wired to believe. And when you think, oh, well, I'm always going to win, then you're starting to lie to yourself. Because it's a probability-based game. You can't. You just honestly can't win every single game. I hope this helps. Because again, I think the mindset, I mean, if Eric's listening, we always joke, I can teach you how to trade. Tiger Woods can teach you how to play golf. Michael Jordan can teach you how to play basketball. Right? Warren Buffett can teach you how to trade stock and invest. Can you execute it? It's all mental. Do you have the mental fortitude? Do you have the discipline to do the things that work and do it every damn day? And enjoy the process of learning and the struggles, and know that every mistake is a learning lesson, and you put it in your journal and you go, I'm not doing that again. But people don't do that. Right? They make a mistake and they go, oh, it's just the market. Well, I don't wish the market was easier. Wish you were smarter. I mean, it's really that thing. It's really that is. Because OPEX is always going to be like this. I mean, I've said this all week. As soon as people get super excited about the market dumping, rally back. I mean, even look at Tuesday, the CPI. We said, hey, that was a monster bear trap. Monster bear trap at the open. And rally back. And then that was the time to short. And now the action is what? Chopping around. Just, again, the people that are trading well in the Discord room and the folks that I know, they're just sitting here laughing at this. They got their extremes and they have their shorts and they're just camping out. And if they are trading around it, awesome. Excellent. I mean, I love the feedback because I know there's a few people who really get this mentally and they're absolutely murdering it. I'm not complaining about this week. Sprinkle here, a little sprinkle there, doing things. Again, that CPI drop Tuesday, cleared off some more shorts, had a ton of capital, reshorted, traded around it. Dropped a little this morning, closed some, reshort. I mean, it's just like, I already know what I'm going to do before it happens. And the only reason I know what I'm going to do is because I have it pre-planned. If this drops, I know it's ChopX. ChopX, it's going to be choppy. It's going to be choppy. It's going to be choppy. It's in my journal. It's very obvious. So then what? I don't say, I have to wait for this certain point to sell. All right, it just dropped a little. Cool. Dropped 3-4 points. Take the money. All right, here it goes. Pops right back. Reshort. It's really that simple. But is it? Not if you're not in the right headspace. I can just tell you that. That's the problem. Is most people are not in the right headspace when they're trading. They're running on emotion versus logic. Here you go. First Solar. Again, if you took profits on this yesterday, and again, I said in the videos, I am not reshorting until we get back up into the 20-day or all this like wiki. I mean, you can see it on the 10-minute. Give me two, or the hourly. Give me 2 seconds. I'll pull it over there. Oops, man, I'm hitting the idiot button. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. Here. Somewhere up in this area. Somewhere up in here. Somewhere over the rainbow. No, I mean, you can see. Here it is. Let me pull this even back further. You goofball. No. Give me that. Yes. Yes. I mean, do you want to draw it to there? I mean, I feel like you can draw it probably more to here. Whatever. 169, 170. Awesome. Sorry, I had you pause. I was late. Agree. How to trade is easy. Trading, yeah. How to trade is easy. Trading is hard. That's your tagline. I'm going to give you credit for that one every time, Eric, because that's true. How to trade? Easy. But trading is hard. That's the truth. What's up, Scott? You coming on here to talk about a particular oil name? I've told you many times, I like oil long term. I don't trust it at all in the sense of it could go up or down. And when I think about trades, I go, what's easier? What's easier trade? Again, going long oil, going short oil, going long natural gas, going long oil and gas names. I'd rather just let them do what they're going to do. And if they go higher, cool. And if they go lower, even better, because then they're a buy. That's my opinion. That is my opinion. Because here's the thing about oil and gas, right? You're betting on what? Geopolitical stuff, right? All right, here we go. Remember I was saying the Bitcoin, probably coming up into this little trend line. Oil to me, no man's land. No man's land. Nothing. I don't hear your lows. I want to see it in the 60s, low 60s. If it goes higher, cool, it'll pull back. Natural gas every day. Oh, I'm going to buy the UNG. Look at the volume down here. I see it. Oh, look at the support. But I also see the past. What if this is just a choppy, sloppy BS mess? Absolutely can review SMH. Reviewed Taiwan Semi at the beginning. Said it was just short on any pop up to the 20-day. It got there. And then it instantly... That's not good. Not good. Semiconductors. Now, again, let me start, because I don't know if you were listening or people jumped in. Again, I play basketball with a group of guys that are all in their 30s and 40s. They have money. They have good jobs. They watch CNBC. They watch Fox Business. They think they're smart guys, right? They love talking stocks. I always play the dummy because I want to hear what they really think. They all love semiconductors. They absolutely think semiconductors are going to the moon. So, market makers, check. Gotcha, bitch. And so their favorites are NVIDIA, Taiwan Semi, not probably today, but and Intel. Semiconductors, this is the thing about ChopX, right? Chop. Chop, chop, chop to drop. Right? We're in this like massive chop zone. Let me see, give me 2 seconds. Kind of like flopping around different charts. It's interesting when you look at the weekly, right? Because you can see, and I think I said this in other videos, it's like a head and shoulders within a head and shoulders. Here was a head and shoulders, right? And here's a bigger head and shoulders, right? I think it's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time when it fails. I just wish I could tell you it was today, tomorrow, next week. And that's where I always tell people, like, on any trade, please zoom out. That's why I have, and this is not expensive. You can get a lot of monitors. If you need to go to Digital Tigers, talk to them. They're really good at building trading computers. You don't even need to buy the monitor. Just buy their tower and all their software, and they'll freaking warranty everything on the in the tower and all the software stuff, which I love them. Get yourself a couple monitors and a stand. I mean, it'd spend $600, $700, $800. It's, you need more real estate. You got to be able to see this stuff, and that's where, like, any trade, when in doubt, all right, let me start on the monthly. Let me go to the weekly. Look at the daily. It just becomes a habit, because if I start on the shorter term time frames and I look up, I sometimes might be like, whoa, I need to make a decision now. And I don't know if many of you, again, actually, I know all of you have been through this at some point, where you're looking at a trade and you have one screen, two screens, and you look at it, you change the time frame, you look at it, and by the time you go back to it, it's been 5 minutes, and you're like, screw it, I'm going in. Because you can't see the whole picture all at once. And or you may have the picture, but you're not taking note of it. That's what I would do back in the past, right? Have like two screens, and I'm like, I'm only looking at the 15-minute. I gotta move. I gotta go. And then I'd be like, crap. And then I'd review my trade and go, well, you dumbass. Well, you dummy. You big dummy. You shouldn't have shorted there. You shouldn't have gone long there. Sorry, I'm just watching Apple. I mean, it's clear as day. This is the top. It's just now chopping. Novice gap. Big green, long wick distribution day. Oh, but it's green, Dan. Well, yeah. I get it. I mean, it's liquidity at the highs. It should be distribution, in my opinion. Hey, any other questions, thoughts, concerns? I appreciate you guys' feedback and interaction, because it makes the videos better. Because people have the same questions you do that sometimes are just scared to ask it. And here's the thing. Whenever I learn something, I feel like sometimes I'm an idiot. But I don't care. Because it's like, I want to know. I have a solid hotel REIT. Oh, Jesus. Scott over here. Stock picker. Man, you should be Jim Cramer. I bet you'd love that job. Soho. Hotel REITs. Yeah, they're going to do great. Oh, God. Man, get out of here. You make me laugh, bro. You just love penny stocks. It just shows me you have no money. Because cheap accounts trade penny stocks, and they think they're going to get rich, and maybe they will. I'd rather you play one option on a better trading, easier trading stock than play hundreds of shares on trash. I mean, Soho's a penny stock. Is this the correct ticker? Soho? This is technically anything under $5 is a penny stock. By definition. Is it technically pennies? No. But again, you would be better off learning how to trade one option or 100 shares of names that move and follow the market than trading these pieces of crap. But you don't know that because you just don't know. You just don't know. Yeah, and especially, yeah, I agree, Eric. If they were not a penny stock and became a penny stock, that's a problem. Like, this is the worst kind of setup. You don't ever want to see this. When a company IPOs and then it crashes, that's not good. Because once you get below the IPO price and you stay down there, and then it gets down into this cheap range, I mean, it's dead money. I mean, or it's just a trading vehicle. I mean, did it rally on Airbnb? I don't know. It just seems silly. It just seems so silly. Like, you're not setting yourself up for success by trading penny stocks, because penny stocks are gambles. If you gamble and you treat your money like, oh, I want to try to get rich on penny stocks, or I'm going to buy a lot of shares at cheap stocks and hope they go up, good luck. I mean, watch Wolf of Wall Street. It's the reality. It's like, suckers play this crap. I want stuff that moves with the market. If you want to play penny stocks and you say, I'm going to short every single one that you show, I would probably agree with that. But saying, hey, let's go look at this penny stock for long, I'm like, there's a reason why it's a penny stock, man. And it just is what it is. I don't know how to explain it to you. Yeah, I mean, they have a preferred. I mean, again, your stories are like every other story, right? You're not getting inside information, Scott. You're getting information that all the public knows. The preferreds are back. Great. They're paying dividends. Okay, good. Why is it $2 stock then? Why is it a $2 stock? Again, you're literally like, I mean, I feel like I'm watching The Wolf of Wall Street, and you're like pulling up, it's like Boiler Room, and you're getting the phone call from Giovanni, whatever, BC, and he's like, hey, I've got a stock here, and they're reading from the script, and here's the script that we need to post into the news, and this is what everyone's going to believe, and this is what's going to happen. And it's like, okay, maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I just wouldn't again, like, do you want to trade the stuff that is easy and sound aggressively, or do you want to trade the crap and that's hard to predict aggressively? It just, again, do you want to swing at every curveball, change up, knuckleball, or you just know that a fastball down the middle, you can hit it pretty good? Yeah, of course, institutions can't buy penny stocks. I know. Trust me, I've been doing this a long time. I know this. That's why I cringe. Because most times than not, by the time you're looking at a penny stock, if you bought it at the lows, fine, whatever. But by the time it pops, it's game over. They're pumping dumps. Again, your fundamental analysis is such a joke to me. Because all fundamental analysis is. Because it's subject to interpretation. All fundamental analysis is subject to interpretation based on what is known and what is projected. It's all based on subjective opinions. So it doesn't necessarily matter. When the market's up, everything sounds great. When the market's down, everything seems bad. I say this stuff over and over, not to be mean, but just to be thoughtful, because it's a liquidity trap. These things are liquidity traps, and maybe it's a great Maybe I'm going to be wrong and you're going to be right. I look at this stock and I go, I don't have no effing clue which way it's going to go. I'd rather soundly put my money into something where I can feel like I can control it versus something where I have no control. High dividends, high preferred. Okay. I mean, everybody knows it. That's the problem here. Everybody knows it at some point. You're not getting insider information. Got to be cognizant of that. I'm not getting insider information. Right? And even if, man, I really don't anymore. I don't even go searching for it. It's like the Livermore book. Again, the tips. You know, are you fishing for tips? You know, my favorite tip is just don't eat the yellow snow. That's it. And Scott, I wish you luck on this endeavor. And I know you love to like show these things, but I'm just telling you, like, if that's your goal is to get rich off of penny stocks, I don't know why you follow this channel. Because I hate to sound like I'm picking on you, but it wouldn't matter if your name was Louise, Pedro, Xi Jinping, Warren Buffett. I'd say the same thing to you. Meaning from a place of caring, because they're crap. I mean, they're literally crap. Like when you watch The Wolf of Wall Street, that's literally what they are. They're trying to find suckers to buy pieces of junk. Remember, this is all pieces of paper. They're all paper. You don't own anything other than the right to a stock. And if the company goes belly up, the stock is worthless. I hope this stuff helps. Trying to be thoughtful. Oh, Apple, little pop here. You going to get back up to 155? Yeah, I mean, again, fundamentals. It's all subject to interpretation. Remember, the rate of growth is usually what matters. I tell that to people all the time. The rate of growth matters. Why? Because then it can actually, you can try to materialize the hype. Like if the rate of growth is increasing, people get excited about it. If the rate of growth is decreasing, now you've got a problem. That's usually when stocks find their backsides of the mountains. Well, if the rate of growth is increasing, is it sustainable? That's the next question. I mean, all these things, it's all like fundamental stuff. That's why I don't talk about it, because it doesn't necessarily matter. The market's not rational either. So you can sit here and tell me they have a great preferred and there weren't. Okay, cool. These are all known material facts. Let's see if it makes a difference. I wish you luck, man. Roblox, as I've said, please don't short this stock. They had their earnings gapped up 20%. Coming to the next resistance. I mean, I've said this. I think I say it every time I talk about Roblox. I mean, I think they get bought out at some point. After that, I don't know. Apple, again, it's just coming back up into the top of that range. We'll see what happens. Could it get back up to 156? I mean, I think anything's possible in this market. Tesla, IWM, yeah, just went strong. Yeah, we did go green. Let me go check the news flow. I mean, the only thing I can see is Bank of America dropped their amount of net recoveries in their credit card notes. I'll drop this in the chat. It's too long. Hold on. Is that what it is? Okay. Well, of course Apple's sales were going to be positive. Right? I mean, they went... literally, China went from full lockdown to reopen. I would hope that they sold a few more phones. We could only hope and guess, right? Sales are up 6% in January. All right, well, if that's all the pent-up demand they really had, I don't know if that's really that great. What do you think of Bank of America as a short? It's the same thing. I think you should short the FAS. I would just keep it so damn simple. If you ask me about any financial, I would just say short the FAS. Short the FAS, short the FAS. Now, you can argue this is like a head and shoulders top. 35 down to 30. If that gets you excited versus 90 down to 40s. I think I just answered that question. I would not short Bank of America. I'd just short the FAS. It's just, I mean, Sometimes it's just simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Everybody wants to like stock pick. Now, I hate stock picking sometimes because guess what? You run into the variable. It's like shorting Apple here and just like picking at it. News comes out. Oh, you shorted Roblox. Well, that's the issue here, especially in the financials, right? They're all probably going to go lower at some point, obviously. Do you want to pick one? Or do you just want to pick the whole basket? I think, again, I would pick the higher priced ones that move faster. Yeah, shorting FAS. 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 The bear one. I'm not going to short FAZ. No. FAS. Should I say FAS? Is that a better way to say it? Are you reloading First Solar puts? I said earlier what I was doing. Let me pull it up real quick. Today, probably not. I mean, I was picking at Apple. I mean, you're close enough for government work. I mean, you're very close. I mean, it's how you. I mean, I don't think you can be wrong. Yeah, you got PPI housing starts tomorrow. Building permits, Philly Fed. After the close, you got what do you got? CF earnings, EQT, Roku, Shopify. Yeah, again, if you decide you want to reshort First Solar here, please layer in. Don't be an all or nothing trader. That's all I can really warn, is that, as we know, if you've traded First Solar, it has a personality of manic in that it's up and down wild. Could it shoot up to 175 very quickly? That has to be in the back of your mind. Could it get stuck here? Yep. Could it just get to the 20-day? Yeah. Is this a good area to short? Well, again, what is your time frame? If you say you want to talk in a week, 2 weeks, I would say yes. If you ask me about right this moment, what's the next move, I would probably tell you I don't know. I'm expecting chop. I mean, I'm seeing it in the market. I'm seeing some names rise, some names drop, some names chopping around. I mean, it's almost, and here's the thing about ChopX is like once you get to a certain point of the week, don't be surprised if the pin action starts picking up, or if you're up for part of the week, you go down the rest of the week. If you started down, you go up. Ultimately, I don't try to overthink OPEX. I just wait for extreme. So would I reload here? I'm personally not. I'm going to wait. I've taken on more risk today for shorting. And at this point, I mean, I'll probably regret it. I might regret it not adding here. So that's my idea here. It's only Wednesday. I'd like to get a little deeper into OPEX. I did hear. Now, here's one thing that I don't know for certain. Someone might know better than I with this. Is I did see that Biden is trying to pass like a $30 billion slush fund for green technology. Is it possible that it's rising on this? Buy the rumor, sell the news. Keep that in the back of your mind. That's another variable that's been kind of weighing on my mind to reload First Solar. Because I really wanted to, earlier in the morning, I'm sat here and I was watching the 166, 167. Because you can also see, if I pulled up the 10-minute, you can see there's some, like, definitely structure here. And I just said, you know what? Maybe that news. Because, again, government now, I feel like they can do anything. So, good question. Very good question. And same thing, and the same thing, if it's not easy and you don't know, feeler bet it, right? Like small bet it. And then if you feel like you have to go more, give yourself time. And the options aren't cheap. And if you feel like, all right, well, I'm a little concerned, I usually recommend in the money, maybe buy at the money to limit your risk, but also give yourself time. Because you do know So if you've been trading this, you know this thing can drop 10 points like very quickly. So that is the one thing that helps here, and that's why the IB will be high on this. So say you were looking at, let me just pull up an options chain real quick. I personally would go minimum of 3-3 March 3rd. I'd probably look at like, I mean, you probably could get away with the 167s, the 165 puts if you want to limit your risk to like $1 or $2 grand. Knowing that, okay, well, don't be surprised if at any point you could be down 10, 15, 20% because of decay or chop and or it going slightly higher. But I think your idea of looking at it and thinking it, I think it's spot on. It's just with certainty, again, you got to be honest with yourself. I have to be honest with myself. Like, do we know for sure? Let's pull up the 10-minute because sometimes you can see the formations in the 10-minute potentially. Let me see if anything's popping up here. Nah, there's no real volume. This is what sucks. But you do have a potential look above and fail. This is why, again, you zoom in on the 10-minute. Just be careful. You zoom out, you can see the 170s. In the 10-minute, you could argue, yes, this is the short. Yeah, I mean you're really betting on the market to dump, pull this thing down, or it's going to do its like manic depressive shit. Oops, can't swear. Where it just it'll start doing its own thing at some point because, I mean, what's oil and gas doing? Oil's down again. Natural gas is down slightly. I apologize if I sound like I'm being very hesitant. It's just, I know people listen to this, and then if I say, yeah, you should buy puts here, and it doesn't dump, people will get worked really hard. So if you know this stock, you know what I'm saying. Like, you can probably infer from my tone, I think you're right here. Your ideas and your thought process are incredibly correct here. It's just near term, I don't know if it needs to go up into this like 171 area at the 20-day, right? Or 170 plus. If I had zero doubts, I would say yes. Short it, absolutely. I like the short. I just don't know the timing. That's, again, the variable that I'm trying to get people to try to like figure out how to trade around is, all right, how do I control the time aspect of this without feeling like right now, everything right now. All right, meow? How many times can you say meow if you get that reference? Does that make sense? I mean, yeah, Lee, so this is a good question, though, but think about what First Solar just did, though. You went below the support zone, right? You bear trapped. Yeah, another bus will come around. But this is funny with the stock, right? This is why you got to trade it, unfortunately. Or if you short it up here, you kind of don't watch it for probably 2 months or whatever. Get past OPEX at least. You might trap both sides here. This is where it gets really interesting. Could you trap down and could you trap up? Yeah. Just keep that in mind. All right, I'm going to let it go unless there's any more questions. Apple kind of chopping here on 154. I mean, again, I'm watching like solar. So let's look at some of the other solar ones and I'll wrap it up. ENPH, little trap down here. Could it get up to the 20-day? Seems logical. Sedge, their earnings on paper look good. People were excited about it, and then it didn't really hang out and go anywhere. Sedge looks like it has a little higher to go, right? Like if you want to see it maybe get back into this box. So if you're using Sedge, and so let's look at TAN, one last one, because sometimes this is what helps you see, if Livermore talked about, right? Like you got to know like what's going on with the other players in the game. The 50 days right there, right above this wick. And you got your little box. My computer sometimes it resets overnight for updates, and I forget to save stuff. Mitso, I think you are very close. I think if you have the time to watch it and babysit it, I think you know that you're close. Could something change that? And this is why people are like, oh, you're always earlier. They act like I'm wrong. Like, I had this guy trying to tell me I was wrong shorting the minors up at the highs. I was like, dude, I told you trade around it, but then also, like, give it time. I'm not sitting here going to tell you it can drop today 5 points. No, I don't. This is the thing. Like, give it a little bit of time and watch the action. Because you're probably going to be, you're going to be right. It's just a matter of when and what from what price. Do you have the mental capacity to sit here and say, oh, if I buy a put, is it going to decay? Is it probably going to be down a little bit? Have you defined your risk? Are you okay with that? That's how I look at it. I hope that helps. Because, I think people want, like, easy answers, or they want to be told what to do. But I want people to, like, have a process so they don't ever ask anybody. And again, I don't care if you ask me, but you know what I mean? Like, you have like these mental checklists that you go through when you get into a trade, right? And then when you get into a trade, if those things aren't checking the checklist, sometimes you just got to, time. Time is time. Time is the hardest variable in all this. Like, again, teach you how to trade, not hard. Teach you how to be patient, hard as hell. Teach you how to know when to get into things, hard as hell. Setups, not hard. All right, I appreciate it, guys. Appreciate the love, support, donations, all that stuff, man. It really means something to me because, again, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. People have helped me along the way, and I will always be thankful for them because, again, they knew that I wanted to succeed. If I know you want to succeed, I'm going to want to help you because, again, it's giving back. It's an abundant mindset, an abundant belief system in the sense of I'm not scared of competition, and you shouldn't be either. Like, we're in a game of probabilities, and there's always going to be competing players. So, yep. Yeah, it's helpful. Just trying to learn how to define risk when you give yourself time. Well, that's the thing with options, right? Always have in the back of your mind, total loss is possible. So that's why I tell people, like, you don't need to have a huge trading options account. Earn it and take the money out. Earn it, take the money out. Because at some point, you're going to be wrong in options. And you're going to blow out a total option. Say you buy First Solar puts, and all of a sudden, something happens. That shit happens. You trade long enough, something will happen. It's just probabilities. And not to jinx yourself or jinx, that's just the reality of it. Lee, I know you want to succeed, buddy. I know a lot of y'all do. And it feeds me to want to help more because, again, ultimately, your success, you're going to own it all. And I'll always, and again, it's like, vibrational universe, good stuff. Like, it helps me, right? It gives me energy to want to help people because it gets pretty boring if you just trade on your own. It gets really, and I mean, not trading on your own, but you know what I mean? Like, if you're just sitting here and you're not interacting with anybody all day about trading and you have nobody watching what you're watching as well. That's what I love about this courtroom. Like, we all have our own opinion. And if you say, look at a trade, and I got 30 other eyeballs on it, every once in a while, somebody will come out and be like, hey, did you see this? No, I didn't. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it'll get to that point. And again, maybe one day I'll be throwing you guys donations. I tell them, like, you feed me a trade that makes sense, I tip the dealer every time, man. I tip the dealer at every poker hand I win. Wink, wink. Love that shit. I'm actually going to play again this afternoon. So, yeah, no, I tell people, like, I don't care the number. Whatever you're comfortable with. Pay yourself, pay your taxes, reward your family, put money away to buy real estate. And if at the end you're like, you know what, thank you, Dan, for your help. You've cheapened my tuition bill, and you want to throw me a few bucks, it's good energy. It makes me actually remember everybody more. I mean, not everybody. It helps me remember you, what you're doing, and it makes me want to get involved. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, if I always tell this, and Lee, you're listening, you get this. Like, you're dealing with a contractor. If they do a great job at a fair price, I will always tip them. I will always tip a contractor some cash at the end. Because I'll be like, you did such a great job on time. I want them to come back and do the work again. And it's the same thing. You tip me for helping you out, it makes me want to help you. Yeah, everyone's blown out options account. Literally. I mean, I don't know anyone who hasn't. Because, again, things can happen. All right, love you guys. I appreciate all the good content we're creating here. Again, we'll never be big. Not going to be 10,000 people. And I love it this way. Because, again, I feel like I own and try to help out everybody in their results. And so the bigger we get, the harder it'd be to manage. So I'm going to end it here. You guys have a great day. I'll probably have a short recap, or I might just use this as the recap. Again, I expect to just chop, man. So you guys be safe out there. Be smart. Don't pay too much attention unless you're eyeing entries. Like I'm just watching Apple. That's all I'm literally watching. I'm not watching Meta. I'm not watching Netflix. Not watching Microsoft. Not watching Caterpillar. Now I'm going to start watching First Solar. I'm not watching the semis. I don't care. They all look fine. It's just the trades I'm looking at right now. And First Solar actually, as Mitso said, it makes sense to me. All right. Peace out.